He looks around as if he doesn't know where to sit. He seems to decide on the bench, gives his trousers a tug, and sits down. Officer Trixel walks back to the cell house door and stands stiff and straight, not smoking now. So, he folds his hand in his lap. What's this all about, Moose? Well, I stammer, my forehead suddenly sweaty. I know you know important people in San Francisco. I was just wondering if you might call some of your, friends, and maybe they might ask Esther P. Marinoff to reconsider. Natalie is doing much better. She should have gotten in. Influence. Is that what you're after, son? Yes, sir, I say. I'll give it some thought, but offhand I can't come up with anyone who might be helpful with this. He sighs and shakes his head. He seems truly sorry. We sit silent for a moment. The warden looks at his watch. Now, it's time you were in school. Bet you can make the 8:30 if you run like the Dickens. He pats my arm and gets up. Thanks, sir, I say, but I had an idea. He makes a pained noise in his throat. I was thinking, my voice cracks. The idea is crazy, but I can't stop myself. How about Al? Excuse me? The warden asks. I clear my throat and try to say it louder, but it still comes out in a croak. Al Capone. The warden squints his eyes just like Piper does. He makes an annoyed sound and shakes his head. Oh, please don't tell me this is another stunt. No, sir, I'm serious. He's the only one who can do this. Moose, that's nonsense, and I think you know it. I think he could. He sighs a long and labored sigh. First off, that's doubtful, but even if he could, do you really think I'd allow it? I've built this place on fairness, on treating all the convicts the same. If I were to ask Al Capone to do me a favor, what kind of precedent would that be setting? He was sent here because he got preferential treatment in Atlanta, ran his empire from prison while the government footed the bill, brought his own furniture, oriental rugs, silk underwear, treated him like royalty behind bars. Do you think I want to pave the way for something like that here? It would make him a mockery of everything I stand for. I look directly into his blue eyes. Remember you said we should think hard about going against the rules? Remember you said that? Well, I have thought hard. The warden meets my gaze. I see that, he says. But in this case you're asking me to bend the rules, and I'm not about to. You may think it's the right thing to do, but I do not. You don't have to give him anything. Just ask him. What's the harm of asking, sir? The warden takes a deep breath. Look, Moose, you want to help your sister, and that's admirable, but I can't help you with this. Your parents will work something out. Now run along. Run along? Run along? He can't tell me to act like an adult one moment and treat me like a kid the next. This makes me so furious my mouth shoots off before I can stop it. You didn't mean it, did you, sir? It was just a speech. You don't really want us to think You don't really want us to think. You want us to obey. I can see the anger flash through the warden's eyes. He takes his foot off the bench and stands straight. I know you and your family have been through a lot, so I'm going to ignore that comment, but if you speak to me like that again, I will have you and your family off the island in the blink of an eye. Do you understand me? Yes, sir, I say, my whole body trembling. He continues to stare, then seems to decide I've gotten his point. He sighs and crosses his arms. Look, son, it isn't that easy. The world isn't going to kiss your boots because you learn to think. You have your answer. It's no. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to do. Chapter 38. What happened? The week of June 1st and 2nd, 1935. My mother calls in sick to her piano students and stays in her room. Now when the door opens, a stuffy, stale smell comes out, and I see her in her bathrobe, her hair tangled like seaweed. My father is a terrible cook. I look down at my supper plate, fried beets swimming in a pool of bright pink juice, half-cooked hash browns turned pink where they border the beets in cold oatmeal. My father seems to notice my reaction to his cooking. If she's still in bed tomorrow, I'll bring home convict cooking. I promise, he says. Thanks, Dad, I say. Natalie is quiet. She has counted the shredded beets on her plate and organized them so they are lying in a line like 20 men in sleeping bags. She seems to be trying to decide what to do with the oatmeal when all of a sudden she blurts out, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" "I don't know," I say. "His buttons rolled to the other side," Nat says, picking at her napkin. She looks at me and runs her tongue over her upper lip. Then she wraps her arms around herself as if she needs them to hold her chest together and begins to rock. "What happened? What happened?" Natalie asks. "Nothing happened, Natalie. Mommy isn't feeling well. And We're just not sure that Esther P. Marinoff is the right school for you, my father says. Mommy's angry, Natalie says. My father and I look at each other. His lip quivers and his voice gets gritty. No, she's not mad at you, honey. You did everything right, Natalie. Not mad at you, honey, Natalie says, digging her chin into her collarbone. Not mad at you, honey, she repeats, adding extra pauses between the words. Oh, God, my father says. Natalie, sweetheart, you were great. No one is mad at you. But Natalie doesn't look at him. She looks at the butter. Not past it, not through it, but at it, as if it is the most interesting thing in the world. You won't believe what I did, I tell Annie and Teresa the next day. I asked the warden if he'd get Al Capone to help us get Natalie into school. You didn't, Annie says. I did. He said no, Teresa says. I nod. Well, that's a big surprise, Annie says. You really didn't think he'd say yes, did you? I shrug. What's Capone going to do anyway? It's not like he gets out on the weekends to run around town breaking people's legs, Annie says. He could help if he wanted. This is small potatoes for him, I say. He can do anything. Annie shakes her head. The guy's in prison. He can't do anything. You've been spending too much time with Piper. She's right. I know she is. The man's locked up. But this one sentence keeps floating around my head. He could if he wanted to. He could if he wanted to. It's when I see Piper that I realize what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a letter to Al Capone, I tell her. She rolls her eyes. They don't let just anyone write to Capone, you know. You have to be a relative, and then it's censored. Yeah, but it's your mom who censors his mail, right? Couldn't I just drop a letter in the stack of already censored mail? I've tried that, Piper says, running her fingers through her long hair. You did? What happened? Nothing. Never answered back. I told him to check out Jane Eyre from the convict library and put his answer in it. Jane Eyre? Maybe that was the problem. Can you imagine Capone reading Jane Eyre? I ask. That's the point, Einstein. A book like that would never be checked out. What con would read Jane Eyre? And besides, then my dad wouldn't give me grief for wanting to read it because I had to get him to check it out from the con library for me. I figured Capone could write in the book, you know, underlining very faintly in pencil, the way the cons do. No, I don't. Well, let's say you want to say I need your help. You go carefully through the book and look for an I and underline it, and then an N and underline it, and then an E and so on until you've spelled out your whole message. Did he get it? Piper shrugs. Who knows? I never got an answer back. Well, what was the message? I asked him if he'd autograph a baseball and hit it over the wall. I told him I'd auction it off. Said we'd split 50-50. Don't you think he has enough money? I ask. No one ever has enough money, Piper says. But you didn't get in trouble for this, right? So what's the harm? I ask. Easy for you to say. The only thing your parents did was take away your baseball glove. Not exactly a hardship. Well, you're one to talk. You didn't get punished at all. Yes, I did. You think I wanted 2 months with my grandma? She's always crabby and everything she eats is boiled. Boiled cabbage, boiled turnips. She even boils hamburger. I thought you said it was fun. She rolls her eyes again. Ever heard of saving face? That's what Annie thought, I say. Well, you should listen to her. She's right most of the time, Piper says. Even if you did get in trouble, it doesn't seem to have made any difference to you. Oh, yeah? Have I gotten in trouble since then? Piper asks. No, I admit. Still, wouldn't you be like Big Al's pen pal? This could be the start. She snorts like she doesn't care, but her eyes are so bright, I know this isn't true. What's he gonna do to get Natalie in? She asks. Beats me, I say, but if the guy can fix a whole election, he'll figure something out. In Piper's room the next day, she brings out the special duplicate carbon copy paper her mom uses. Can you type? She asks. Nope. Me neither. Just, hunt and peck. You don't need to worry if you make mistakes. My mom makes them too. And every once in a while, type 3 dots. That's what she does when she leaves something out. Then, if she happens to glance at your page, she'll think it's a letter she's already finished. I roll the brown page into her typewriter, click the carriage over, and begin hunting down letters with one finger. Dear Mr. Capone, I live on Alcatraz. I am Officer Flanagan's son. My sister Natalie Flanagan is a little unusual. Ask Onion 105 about her. He'll tell you how nice she is. She needs to be in a school to help her, but they won't let her in. It's the Esther P. Marinoff School in San Francisco. Could you help? The guy who runs it is named Mr. Purdy. I would be so grateful if you could help me with this. Thank you, sir. Sincerely, Moose Flanagan. P.S. I like your mother very much. I like your mother very much, Piper says when she reads it. You gotta say something about the guy's mother. Why? She asks. Because then he remembers he has one.